I have been wanting to make this video for so long. A few years ago I posted a video of me rehabbing a saddle. Everybody was up in arms when I gave that rehab saddle a bath and then moisturized it with olive oil. Also, as a disclaimer, this video is not sponsored. So I'm here to settle the debate. I'm sure olive oil isn't, maybe a practical use for every situation with leather. Personally, I do a lot better learning when I am using different products. I am hands-on, I'm testing, I'm experimenting. And I always encourage you guys to try different things. See what works for you. Take a little scrap piece and test it, see how it works. There's so many different types of leather. There are so many different products. This one I grew up with seeing usually around the house or in a garage. I know it's used mainly for car upholstery, which tends to be fake leather most of the time. So I don't really have high standards for this, but I figured it was a great contender to throw in there. Everybody has raved about this for years. Since that video, this is what people have been like, clean and condition it at once. After reading the directions, that's not how it works. It still needs, they actually make a cleaning product, which is supposed to be used before this. But I was listening to the audience, and everybody recommended this, Vic 4 specifically. So got that, we're gonna try it out, and I got Masterson's. It does say car care, but we're gonna see how this works, because I've also heard some good reviews about this stuff. And my favorite, and yes, I'm a little biased, I think olive oil is going to come out on top in most uses, in most cases. Not all of them. It's not perfect. But I want to run a different test. And if you guys like it, I would love to make it a series. I will buy different products. I will try many different leathers. I think there's many ideas like suede and rough out, and teaching you guys how to care for those is important and great. And I like trying different stuff. This is a great project to also work through some of my scrap leather. And this is a pull-up chrome tan where I can pull up the leather and it leaves a different color and then fades back into normal. I think this is a great tester. It's got just both open Veg-Tan and a very heavily painted background, so I've sacrificed one of my projects in the name of that. I got raw Veg-Tan here. I also have a designer calf here. This is the leather that I put on my more high-end watch band. So immediately this one had some red dye come up with it. This one didn't have anything come up with it. This one didn't have anything come up with it, absorbed it really quick. This one, you can see some of the antique. Looks like it's starting to kind of rub off a little bit. Now moving on to Masterson's. Shake well, clean surface using Masterson's leather cleaner before application. See, even it says clean your leather first. Anyway, I don't know, I'm gonna use like that much to begin with. Ooh, automatically, I prefer that over the olive oil for the pull-up. That's already a lot prettier. Okay, Masterson's. See, okay, automatically I prefer the Masterson's over the olive oil, but the olive oil does take a minute to fully soak in, and it does tend to lighten over time. Immediately, there's not as much color pull up with these. When this one came off immediately red. So I'm excited to see what this does to the paint, and I'm excited to see if the paint absorbs it even better. Okay, so there is more paint coming up with this. This is the clean side. I'll put a little bit more on, maybe just be a little more gentle with it and let it just soak in. Nope, there's still a good amount of paint that's coming up with it. But overall, I do like the Mastersons. That was nice. Alright, now we've got the Wyman's Leather Conditioning Wipes. Immediately, these are almost scented. Ooh, these are really pungent. Okay, well. So, they're kind of thin. Let's try it on the pull-up. It just kind of feels like a baby wipe. There's a little bit of color that pulled up with it, but not much. On the designer calf. I think this is more for upholstery and car seat, which is typically not real leather. I digress. I don't know. I thought it would be an interesting little experiment to give this a shot, because I think most people have this on hand. Oh, immediately lots of paint came up, so don't like that on painted leather. Yeah, that's a lot of color pull up. I don't like that. But it's basically, it's a baby wipe, so yeah, it's going to be abrasive and act more like a Brillo pad per se. I mean, it's not abrasive itself. The cloth is soft, but I don't know how I like that. And it didn't really moisturize, as it just kind of coated the top, and that soaked it. It acted more like water than anything so far, but we'll see. This last one I got recommended a lot when everybody was upset at me using Old Faithful olive oil. So I have been excited to try this one. Let me read the directions. Shake well before using. Always test a small hidden area before using. If item is very dirty, clean with Bic 1 leather cleaner. Then apply Bic 4 liberally with a cloth. Let dry and buff. Repeat as necessary. Do not use on suede, rough out, distressed, napped, or any pre-treated leathers. Ooh, I don't know if that's too much already. I'll put a little bit right there, and then okay. Interesting. Oh, it turned it more orange, which is the undertones of that leather. It didn't pull up any color with it, or with the designer calf one. But let's try some Veg-Tan. I don't know how much I'm supposed to apply. So it says liberally, so I'm using it liberally. That's just scraps from around the table, not the actual piece itself. Okay, let's see if it pulls up paint. It's pulling up the antique a bit. I don't like, but it's not pulling up paint. And I'd rather it pull up antique than paint. Ideally, it would pull up neither. So now, time will tell. Now that this leather is sat here for 24 hours after the oiling, this one hasn't lightened up too much, but it has technically lightened up, I think. It still definitely has that pull-up function, and I think it's almost made it more dramatic. I like it, but I don't like how it feels on top. Very greasy. It's made it almost more of a matte sheen, if that makes sense. Versus the Mastersons, it didn't change much of the color, just kind of, it's almost like somebody turned up the contrast on it. Still has that pull-up function, and actually I think it's made it brighter. So I do like that, and it hasn't left a funky feel on it, so I do like the Mastersons so far for the pull-up the most. I really don't notice a single difference with the Wymans, and I don't know that I would recommend Wymans for a leather conditioner in general. And the Bic 4, definitely not much of a difference. It feels a little bit more pliable, so it is definitely more moisturized. I think for the pull-up chrome tan, the Mastersons take the cake for me for this one. For the designer calf, It's definitely soft. It doesn't have a funky feel from the Bic 4. I do like that. Wyman's, there's no difference. But the Mastersons, I think the Bic 4 makes it softer, but doesn't leave a weird feel on it by any means. The olive oil actually I think made it sheen even more, and it made it softer, but it's got a smoother feel on it than these other ones. So I actually think the olive oil would be best for that designer calf. I know it looked really dramatic when we first put it on, it got dark, but the olive oil lightens up over time. Now for the raw Veg-Tan, olive oil, great contender. It's always a trustworthy one. It's soaked in very evenly from what I can tell. The Mastersons, also a good one. I don't know which one I would choose over it. I think maybe the Mastersons, just because it made it a bit softer and it didn't change much of the color. I think if anything it made similar to over here, kind of the contrast just turns up. The saturation, no, I think more the contrast gets turned up, but the Wyman's, no difference, still the same stiffness. Bic 4 has made it a bit softer, and it gives it more that smooth texture on top like the designer cap, so I could definitely see Bic 4 being like a good finishing conditioner for Veg-Tan, but that's also a great spot to check over here. It's gone through the paint quite nicely. I do really like that. The Wyman's, no difference. Mastersons, I do like the Mastersons. It has soaked through the paint as well, and it's definitely made it a lot more supple. The olive oil has just kind of sat on top of the paint, so I think olive oil is great to put on a piece of leather right before you paint it, especially when you're doing dye, because the oil helps that paint or the dye soak in, especially maybe not so much if it's a water-based dye, but double check what your leather dye is based off of, and it can be a great way to spread that dye more evenly. So overall, final results, I think for the finished leather, Bic 4 takes the cake for me. For olive oil, for raw Veg-Tan, I don't know that Bic 4 would be great in the earlier processes. For finished Veg-Tan, Bic 4 is a great option. For the raw Veg-Tan, I think what takes the cake is the olive oil or the Mastersons to get those deeper layers before it's finished. For the designer calf, I think it's olive oil or Bic 4. And honestly, Mastersons is a great option. I think designer calf, you can use a lot of different things, but stay away from that. But for the pull-up chrome tan, I think Mastersons takes the cake out of all of them.